Good afternoon. Welcome to another in our series of virtual brown bag webinars. I'm Kelly Bearden, the director of the CSU Bakersfield Small Business Development Center. And today we're in beautiful Mono County in the township of Mammoth Lakes for a great webinar, we think, on Facebook ads, the good, the bad, and the ugly. So thank you. Grab a chair, join in. I hope you got a good lunch. We're going to have a good webinar topic, so here we go. Let's get this real show on the road. One thing that you'll see today is that what we do at the SBDC is a lot of different assistant programs. So the program is a nationwide program. We're in all 50 states, over 1,000 SBDCs located across this country. So visit an SBDC if you see the need. Many of you may be SBDC clients of our Central California region. And this region goes from far Mono County to the north, to Kern to the south, eastern point of Inyo, and then to Monterey County in the Pacific Ocean, encompassing 14 counties and 5 centers located in Modesto, Fresno, Bakersfield, San Luis Obispo, and in Salinas. So just where we are today, we're up here in Mono County. Kind of missed that a little bit. Up here in Mammoth Lakes, in the township right up here. And covering our territory that we serve out of our Bakersfield office. And I can tell you what we do at the SBDC, but I have a fine video that has been kind of telling us a little bit about what we do. So let's see if we can play that for you right now.
The California Small Business Development Centers are the state's #1 resource for current business owners and aspiring entrepreneurs. Our 43 SBDC centers throughout the state offer no-cost expert one-to-one business consulting, training, and online courses in a variety of areas like startup assistance, debt and equity funding, attracting and retaining customers, international trade and product commercialization. Our consultants are current and former small business owners, ready to assist you with even your most complex business needs. So, if you are looking for a loan or equity capital for your new tech venture, want to build a new website, need help starting or expanding the restaurant, or would like to sell your products internationally, make the California SBDCs your first stop. To get started, simply visit us online.
So, nice abrupt end. And the one thing we're working with at the EDD, your Employment Development Department, is their mandatory e-file and e-pay. Right now, if you have 10 or more employees, it is a requirement that you do so. In 2018, on January 1st, we will have e-file for all employers, even if you only have one employer. So if you need help, look at their website. It's right there below, or contact our office. So your webinar interaction today, if you have any questions, we will be answering questions at the conclusion of today's webinar. Please leave them in the question box. If you notice, you have a little dashboard off to the right, and you have a chat box and an area to where you can raise your hand. So please use that if you have any questions or if you want to interact with either the moderator or the presenter. So to open your question box, if you just put your cursor over that arrow and click on it, it will open that up. All of our attendees today are muted. And also, we will have a survey at the end of the webinar. So please go to the survey and give us your feedback, not only from today's webinar, but on topics you'd like to hear in the future, or any ways that you have, or any suggestions you might see that would improve our webinar series. Handouts, our presenter will be making the handouts. Please, they will be available through a PDF, so please leave that on the survey and we'll be able to get that to you. So today, our special guest presenter is Christy Osborne, and Christy has a very eclectic, very strong marketing background. She worked for a number of years with Visit Mammoth, which is the Mammoth Township visiting tourism angle, and did a lot of their online management of their media. She is also an independent consultant now, has a broad background in social media design, and Mountainside Media, and also has been doing a lot of work in the wedding fields. She is one of our star SBDC presenters, and so today I welcome you, Christy Osborne. Thank you for being with us today. It's great to have you here, or actually it's great to be in Mammoth Lakes, California.
Okay, well, thanks, Kelly. Today we're covering effective Facebook ads for your small business. We're going to cover some of the basics of setting up and testing your Facebook ads, but the focus for this is going to be on creating compelling Facebook ads. It's going to be focused on the creative, writing great text, what makes a good Facebook ad, what makes a poor Facebook ad. Because if your ad is ineffective to start, it doesn't matter how well you know Facebook's power editor, you'll effectively be wasting a lot of money running those ads. But before we begin, please tell me who has actually spent money on advertising on Facebook before. If you could just leave a comment saying if you have advertised on Facebook, and also in that comment, let me know if you felt like your ads were successful. And while you're doing that, we're just going to dive right in. Okay, so in this webinar, you're going to learn how to set up Facebook ads that work, how to fully optimize your ads for maximum results, generating leads and converting leads into clients, measuring your success, and how to crush it in your next campaign. This webinar will be very strategy heavy, and the reason is this. There are plenty of people out there that you can hire to do the technical setup of your Facebook ads. But if you, the business owner, don't have a solid ad strategy, you may as well go withdraw a big pile of money from the bank, throw it into a pit in the backyard, and set it on fire, because that will likely be the effect of your Facebook ad campaign with a weak or no strategy. You're just wasting your time and you're just wasting your money. So Facebook is one of the most powerful marketing and advertising platforms available to small businesses and modern marketers alike. It boasts 1.9 billion, that's really B, monthly users as of March 2017. And pretty much everyone's using Facebook at this point, right? It's literally become the king of social media. But despite this, there are some reasons why Facebook advertising might not be for you. So first, if your business does not have a website, Facebook advertising is not for you. You need to drive traffic from Facebook to your website. In fact, I recommend that most businesses also have a way to capture emails and build an interest list on their websites so that you can continue to move prospects through your sales cycle on a platform that you control. So to this end, you need a website that's not only attractive, but it also should be very easy for web visitors to use, and it should be able to convert your traffic into leads and customers. Facebook advertising is also not for you if you don't want to spend time as well as money on advertising. So there are a lot of moving parts when it comes to digital advertising. There's the actual creation and testing of the ads, which takes time and money. There's also the time and money that it can take to set up your lead generation campaign and your sales funnel. You're also going to have to spend some time setting up your email marketing program and your interest list website form. And you may even decide to create a content marketing platform like a newsfeed or a blog to help you with your SEO rankings and attract people to your website and position your business as an authority in your industry. All these things take time and money. So it doesn't make sense to spend a bunch of money driving traffic to your website if you're not actually going to capture those leads and convert them into clients once they get into your funnel. So you need to make sure that your affairs are in order where your website is concerned before you spend a dime on Facebook. Facebook advertising is also not for you if you expect paid advertising to give you overnight success. Most people don't convert directly into customers from social media. That's because they're on social media to be social, not to be sold to. So the role of many of your Facebook ads is to start generating interest in your product or service so that they can visit your website, capture their email, and you lead them through your sales funnel, warming them up along the way in order to get that final sale. But it's your job to do that conversion once they land on your website. It's not Facebook's job. So if you have a big problem with your website, you can drive all the traffic in the world to it, and it's not going to make you any money. So even though you might be able to generate a lot of that traffic to your website, again, you're going to need to spend some time working on your lead generation plan and your plan to nurture those leads through your sales funnel. And depending on your product or service, this process could take a few days, it could take weeks, it could take months, or it could take even years to convert that initial prospect into a customer. And finally, Facebook advertising is not for you if you want a set it and forget it solution. For Facebook ads to be effective, you have to test things. It's like science. Literally form a hypothesis about your market and what they're looking for, set up your experiment with several variations of your ad, and you see what performs best. Look at the results and you try to learn from your successes and failures and then rinse and repeat. So setting aside for a moment that any good marketing campaign includes testing and iterating, Facebook advertising can be even more complicated and challenging because the rules of the game regularly change. So algorithm changes routinely affect ad delivery. Consumer preferences and use habits change. And new and emerging technology and functionality can make today's ads look dated 6 months later. So all of this pretty much ensures that what works now probably won't work in the future, maybe even the near future. In fact, many of the old advice for Facebook ads that I learned just a few years ago are completely obsolete as users have primarily shifted to like mobile experience. They look at stuff on their mobile device, not their desktop anymore. And they've adopted new functionality, including video and image carousels. And of course, Facebook has continued to noodle around with its algorithm affecting delivery of both organic and your paid posts. So it's still kind of the Wild West out there for small businesses, and you need to be willing to be nimble and adapt to changes as they come. So with that said, let's dive in to some strategic prep. So before you get eyeballs deep in the ads manager or the power editor on the back end of Facebook, you need to mind some of your strategic P's and Q's. So we're going to start with building a buyer persona, and then we're going to talk about how and where social media advertising fits into your marketing and sales funnel. And then finally, we'll talk a little bit about crafting that perfect offer and making your ads great. So before you do anything, you need to get some detail about who you're marketing to, okay? So in other words, like who's your target market? And you need to spend some time on this because I guarantee if you get this wrong, nothing else is going to work right. Your ads won't work, your website won't work, your marketing efforts will feel like a constant struggle. And if you've been on any of my other webinars to SBDC, you know that this is where all marketing starts. So buyer personas are fictional representations of your ideal customers. And professional marketers, including at the agency level, use buyer personas to keep branded messaging focused and compelling to your target markets. And basically that means you put out an ad and people respond to it. So buyer personas are people who are going to benefit the most from your product or service and who are a delight for you to serve. So having a deep understanding of your buyer persona is critical for developing your sales messaging, your website content, your copy, and even aiding in product development. Your buyer personas can also help you way down the sales funnel in terms of follow-up, your salespeople selling, and anything that you need to customer retention. So there are core pieces of information that you need to develop when creating a buyer persona. They are demographics, psychographics, and emotional mapping. And if you do this right, this will help you internalize the type of person that you're trying to attract so that you can start relating to your customers in a more human way. And the more human you can be as a brand in modern digital marketing, the more people actually respond to you. So when we start with demographics, and these are easy. Typically when I work with clients and I ask them to tell me about their customers and target markets, I get a lot of demographic information right up front. So they'll say something like, we're targeting first-time millennial home buyers who are single with no kids, live in Tehachapi, and have a household income of $70,000. And that's a really great start because Facebook has targeting options that allow you to target that exact type person in that geography with that household income. The targeting is so powerful on Facebook. But the problem with demographics is they can help you target an audience. They won't help you figure out what to say to that audience or how to say it in order to make your ads successful. So let's take a look at psychographics and emotional mapping to start solving that problem. Psychographics can give you a super powerful competitive edge. These are your persona's beliefs, values, and lifestyle preferences. So let's take Haley, the first-time home buyer, as an example. Maybe she is conservative, kind, and loves dogs. So we can start to dictate how you talk to her and what types of imagery you choose when you're selling her homes. Your voice might be caring. Your copy, which is the text you write in your ads, is more gentle with this kind of guide on the side tone rather than a get some, buy now, time is running out, pushy salesman tone. And that pushy salesman tone might work for you in other instances. It just depends on your brand and your customers. So going back to Haley, if you know that she loves dogs, you might want to include some of those dogs in your ad images. Emotional mapping is how you create compelling ads that earn her clicks. So this is where you start diving deep into her desires and problems. So say she's looking for a classic design that she can put a modern twist on. You might want to show her modern home designs that reflect that. Your text in your ad may talk about finding a home with quote unquote good bones that she can quote unquote make her own. Right? So this is responding to her and her desires. And you want to also examine both her pain points and her gain points. So these are her hopes and fears around your product or service, and they from both sides of the coin. So really take the time to step into her shoes. Think from her perspective. How does she hope her life will be transformed by buying your service? What are her hopes and dreams when it comes to your product or service? What is she saying in her head at the point of purchase? And what are her secret fears when it comes to your product or service? Getting this information down in one place will help you create amazing ads that speak to your target market in compelling ways that lead to website traffic and then to conversions. So for more information on creating your customer persona, I suggest that you go to HubSpot. They have a great blog post and a free worksheet download. Just Google search HubSpot, how to create a buyer persona. Okay, so you have your buyer persona in place. Let's talk about your sales funnel and where your ads fit into this funnel. So depending on your industry, you may not be able to sell your product or service directly on Facebook. If you're selling an inexpensive product like t-shirts or handmade jewelry, you may be able to make some direct sales. However, if you're selling something really expensive like a house or professional services like accounting or legal services, you're going to need to be more strategic about your marketing depending on where in the sales funnel your customers are. So the first step in this sales funnel is simply making your audience aware that you exist. They have a problem, you have a desire, you can solve that problem or meet that desire, and you just need to get in front of the right audience with your product or solution. Once that's done, you need to generate some interest in your product or service once they become aware of it. Once they're interested, they're probably doing some research and considering you, weighing it against their needs and budget, and probably comparing you to your competition. So once they got that under their belt, they might show an intent to buy. And this means that if you have an online store, they might have loaded their cart up with items. For a service or a big ticket item, they may have called or emailed you to set up a sales or inquiry call. And this is a critical stage for you to capture contact information. We're going to talk about how ads can help you do that. In the evaluation stage, they're deciding on whether or not to go through with the purchase. They might go back and do some additional research and evaluation. They might consider your value proposition or reconsider it, and make sure that they have the resources to go through with the purchase. And of course, at the purchase point, you're closing the sale, they're pulling out the credit card, it's a done deal. So with Facebook ads and modern marketing, especially online marketing, the marketing funnel reaches all the way down to the evaluation stage. And at the lower end of the funnel, it's your website that does the heavy lifting. So again, if you're going to run Facebook ads, you need a really powerful website to help close these sales and bring these people through the funnel. It just doesn't make sense to go out on Facebook and spend a whole bunch of money if you can't bring people through this funnel. So let's see how that advertising fits into the funnel. So remember how I said that people aren't on social media to be sold to? Well, that doesn't mean you can't sell to them on social media. It simply means that you need to be intentional about what you're asking them to do and how it relates to their buyer's journey in your sales funnel. So if we go back through the major phases and think about what we can offer that would make sense, and then think about how we can promote that offer through Facebook ads, you can create a Facebook marketing plan that leads those prospects through the sales funnel to become leads, but most importantly, become customers and clients. So here's how it works. We have the awareness phase. Your target market has a problem or desire, right? So let's go back to our buyer persona, Haley, the first-time millennial home buyer. She wants to buy an older home with classic design elements that she can upgrade and put her own personal stamp on. So she may have no idea where to begin or how to evaluate a home for quote-unquote good bones. So you may want to write a blog post or create an infographic or have a landing page on your website to help her start making sense of her options and help her to avoid any pitfalls. Remember that pain gain section of your buyer persona? This is where you start using those insights to get Haley into your sales funnel. Okay, so let's talk. I want to talk about a retargeting pixel, and I'll go into depth a little bit later in this presentation. But basically, you can install what's called a retargeting pixel on your website that essentially allows you to deliver different ads to people who have already visited your website. And this builds trust and brings them down the sales funnel to that point of purchase. So say you create a Facebook ad for a blog post that you wrote about modern design upgrades for old homes. All you're trying to do is get her to visit your website for the first time. When she gets to your website, she enjoys your content. She also has a pixel in her browser. And that means that you can continue to run ads directly to her. This is important because she has already shown interest in you and what you have to offer. So she's no longer a stone cold lead, but she's warmed up slightly. So let's warm her up even more. So maybe she reads your article and leaves, and now you have a tip sheet or a checklist that you can advertise to her. She can get the checklist in exchange for her email address. Now you have a way to contact her outside of the Facebook platform. Because she's already gone to your website and found useful information and you've built some trust, when you make an offer on a Facebook ad with your download, you're more likely to get that click and that email address because you've built up that trust. Once you have her email address, you can continue to build that trust and authority through an email marketing campaign. So maybe through additional ads, by continuing to offer her valuable content, you can build up your business as the trusted brand and authority, because I guarantee none of your competition is doing it like this. So maybe now you're going to offer her a free webinar, or you're going to offer her a free webinar through your email list as an exclusive benefit of being on that list, right? You understand this because this is what the SBDC just did to get you on this webinar that you're on right now, right? Offering value. So you offer her webinar, you can offer her case studies, offer her buyer guides, just trickle out that value. Basically, you want to help her with her research and consideration, and at the same time stay top of mind and build trust and authority that's going to eventually lead to that sale. So at this point, you can actually upload that email list that you've built up to Facebook and continue to serve ads to her for your next offer in the sales funnel. So I know what you're thinking. At some point, you need to make the sale, and that's true. This might be direct, like a sales email for a product or discount code, or it may entail getting on the phone with her, with one of your salespeople for a free demo or a consultation. At this phase, it's all about the sale, and it's probably not going to happen on Facebook. It's going to happen on one of your email marketing or one of your own properties or the phone. So depending on what you're selling, your sales funnel may be shorter or longer. So I've run campaigns with as little as 3 touch points for things like hotels or products. And then I've made the offer. I've also run campaigns with as many as 9 touch points for those bigger ticket items. As a business owner, you need to decide what will work best for both your potential customers and your business. And then finally, in the retention phase, you can continue to remarket new products or features to her as they become available with these new ads, because you know how to find her because you are retargeting to her on Facebook. But basically, it all boils down to this. If you go out with a hard sales pitch with every single one of your ads, you're only targeting a small section of the market. But by crafting custom ads and offers for each stage of the buyer's journey in your sales funnel, you can warm up a much larger audience and have a much better chance of turning them into paying customers. Okay, so let's dive into what you're actually going to do to create these ads, what goes into a successful ad. So we're going to go through visual properties, good copy, which means good text, and ads that convert. So I just want to make a little statement about starting with a great ad. So having an amazing ad is really more important than ever. In fact, it's crucial. So like I said, people are not on social media to be sold to, they're on social media to be social. So it's crucial to think about your Facebook ad in the context of that social platform. It's not a traditional broadcast medium like TV or billboards. You're not trying to just blast your message out there and hope that somebody sees it. Because the fact is consumers don't like their activities to be interrupted by blatant advertising. This has given rise to TiVo, where you can fast forward through ads, and it's given rise to what's called banner blindness, where even though your ad might be being shown, your target market doesn't even notice it. And even though Facebook wants to take your money, they need to keep people using their platform. And they do this by trying to ensure that the content that's delivered, whether it's ads or organic content, is relevant and compelling to users. So, in addition to Facebook controlling the delivery of your content, users can now hide you forever from their timelines if they don't like your ad or your content. And even though you're paying Facebook to exist with your ad dollars, Facebook needs to control the quality of content in order to survive. Otherwise, users are going to find a channel without all that advertising and spam, which is exactly what happened to Twitter, right? Twitter has struggled for years with spammers and bad advertisers, and nobody really uses it anymore except for our media and president, but nobody's using it socially, really. So if you're not convinced by now that your ad has to be great, then consider this. You are also competing not just with your competition in your industry, but you're competing with your audience's friends and their grandparents and their parents. So remember that social aspect of social media. Who do you think people are on Facebook to interact with? You, the brand, or their actual friends? So to be successful, you need to have great copy and images in your ad and a strong call to action that looks relevant and fits in naturally with the rest of that timeline and feels human. So here are the core elements of a great Facebook ad. It tells your customer's story, not yours. Your customers care about their problems and their needs, not your brand, not your features and details. They want to solve a problem or fulfill a desire, so tell that story. It's also visually compelling and looks like it belongs in the timeline. Marketers call this type of ad a native ad. You can Google it to learn more. It has a strong value proposition. A value proposition tells the reader why they should click on your ad to learn more about your product, how your product or service is different, why they should click. It's most importantly both mobile and desktop friendly. Most of your users are looking at Facebook on a mobile device now, so please keep that in mind. And it has a clear call to action that hopefully leads to a landing page on your website that makes sense in relation to the ad. So don't dump them into your home page and have them figure it out. Okay, let's look at the anatomy of a good and bad ad on Facebook, and then we're going to dive into that good, bad, and ugly. So we're going to look at some real ads and evaluate them. So your ad is broken up into 6 parts. The text is what you would typically write in an organic post. And this is the social part. So you can adopt a really social voice here. Most people don't notice or can't tell the difference between an ad and a post if you write it as you would a regular social media post. So really adopt the spirit of the platform. I've been experimenting with it, getting a lot more casual sounding in my Facebook ads to be both approachable and also to make my ads look like normal newsfeed posts, and it's been working really well across industries. Don't be afraid to talk to your market rather than at your market, and be specific about how your product or service will benefit them. So on the left, the text says, "Summer fun with Jack's barbecue," and it's too vague. Like, what does that mean? And it's kind of cheesy as well. On the right, we're talking directly to our audience and solving a problem with the text. "Hungry? Come and take advantage of our food truck special." So the next part is your image. Again, the more social feeling you can make this, the better. Don't use your logo. I'm sorry I have to say this, but nobody cares about your logo but you. Use an image that your buyer can relate to and is attracted to or inspired by. And if you choose an image that you want to overlay with text using something like Canva or Photoshop, make sure that the text covers less than 20% of the image, or Facebook will reject it. I try to leave text off of all of my ad images all the time, unless I have a client who wants me to use a certain banner ad that they've designed. And in this case, I recommend you test it, and we'll talk about testing in a minute. So next is your headline, which is right below the image. This is the promise you're making. On the left, the promise of summer fun is too vague. Like, what fun to me is probably different from fun to you. On the right, the offer is clear, that viewers can save 25%. The newsfeed link description describes in more detail what your offer is about and what someone will get if they take action. On the left, if you look at it, it's still vague and it's also repetitive. On the right, it's direct and has a clear value proposition. And finally, there's the call to action, both of which these ads have omitted. I'm actually experimenting with omitting the call to action to see if it would feel more authentic and generate more clicks. For me, so far, I'm finding that having a strong call to action is key. But again, feel free to run some tests for your business and audience. It's so cheap to set up variations and run these tests. And the final piece is your display URL. I generally set this to the home page for neatness and clarity, but the real link will actually lead to an internal landing page. Okay, let's look at some ads. Okay, so I love this ad from Heal. They're doing a lot of things right. One of which is, and we just experienced this with my husband, waiting all day in a waiting room at the clinic. Even though we have these amazing advances in modern medicine, going to see the doctor really remains a huge pain in the butt. And this ad for the Heal app really hits the mark on almost every level. It has a great picture. It has social proof with CNN. It's got great copy, a great call to action. But the real power is where they tell the customer's story. So the text above the image immediately explains what Heal is and how it would benefit someone. The image itself reassures the viewer with a combination of like friendly, approachable image featuring a smiling doctor and, of course, that unmissable CNN logo, which is a big trust signal from a household name right in the middle. So Try the World is another one of my favorites. Again, this ad targets customers who are more adventurous with their culinary preferences, and the ad promises that the buyer will experience traditional foods from around the world. It builds trust by talking about expert chefs, and it sweetens the proverbial pot with an offer for extra products. So use attractive images. Shopify really understands that a lot of its prospective users never really considered monetizing their hobby or their craft products. And so it wants to advertise to them and let them consider opening up a shop if they're a crafter. So one of the many strengths of this ad, and I'm super into crafting, so this is how I know this, but it uses imagery that actually looks a lot like craft bloggers and influencers' images. So it builds trust and it shows that Shopify is in tune with and relevant to their target market. So you need to think about where your audience hangs out and what they're accustomed to looking at, and try to mimic the look and feel of your ads to make you feel more trustworthy and authentic. The Pizza Hut Visa ad also has a crisp image of a pizza. It's the first thing that grabs your attention. And if you're hungry, it's going to be especially effective. As an aside, if Pizza Hut is super smart, which I'm sure they are, they're probably controlling delivery of these ads during times that people are hungry to maximize that click-through. So whenever people are typically hungry, lunchtime or meal planning, maybe at the end of the day before going home from work. The other frame shows a phone with the Pizza Hut app, which is nice context and a great way to use the carousel feature, which has been performing well. Have a strong call to action. So these visually unique ads by Co-Promote are sure to stand out from the usual newsfeed noise, but where they shine is those short and sweet calls to action. It's clear, it's compelling. You know immediately, oh wow, I can reach new audiences by using Co-Promote, and then the button is use now. Do remember that half of the people who see your ad will do so on a mobile device, maybe more, so make sure your ad will look great on a small screen as well as the desktop. In this example, we are looking at a desktop version on the left and a mobile version on the right. Notice that the mobile view has the heading text that starts to wrap around, and the text below the image is completely cut off after the first sentence. So take a look and make sure that you're getting the right information on that mobile ad as well. And finally, a great ad leads to a great landing page. So this ad for Hired uses a very young feeling green that looks like the new native background colors that users can use in their personal posts. It uses modern fonts and icons and an emoji-like smiley face that will attract younger millennials entering the workforce or looking to change jobs. And better yet, their copy is short and sweet and drives straight to the pain point of their lead by talking about what their audience might be experiencing. You're good at your job. Isn't it time you did it for a company you love? But where it really shines is it leads you to this fantastic landing page that expands on their value proposition by offering specific benefits such as 5 to 10 job interviews with one application. They use much of the same language from their ad on their landing page, so feel free to test matching your headline with your ad exactly on your landing page. The color palette from their ad carries across to their landing page, so it tells the user immediately that they're in the right place. They have an eye-popping call to action button in that familiar bright green that the user just saw. It's just a really great way to bring your user further down your sales funnel and capture that lead. So with that, again, you have to have the website components to support your Facebook ad. Okay, let's go through the ugly. This here, it appears the Facebook newsfeed ad images need to be 1200 by 628 in order to take advantage of that bigger preview mode. And while EE's image is that size in this ad, they've just wasted a ton of opportunity with all of this white space. And the post instantly screams paid ad. So a more natural lifestyle focused shot would work better here. For Udemy, again, not a large enough image was used, and so what that essentially does is it makes this ad to be full of text, which screams to be ignored in Facebook's visually rich environment. This one's actually a pretty good ad. They have good copy, a great image, but they really missed the mark by not having any kind of call to action. Now, they might be testing. I do tests all the time. So if you're testing, that's great. But make sure you're running tests with buttons as well. Okay, let's go through some technical setup really quickly. Like I said, you can always find someone to set up your ads for you. Your job as a small business owner is to really take control of your brand and your messaging, and then you can dictate somebody to set up your ads for you. But I do want to do a quick run through of retargeting pixels, campaigns, ad sets, and ads. So the first thing that you want to do is set up your Facebook tracking pixel on your website. This is the pixel that looks at your this pixel will look at your traffic for up to 180 days and can be used to target your ads to people who have already visited your website, like I said before. So you're going to want to do this today, like immediately, even if you have no intention of running paid ads anytime soon. And the reason for this is because that Facebook only starts tracking your website traffic the date you install your pixel. So if I visit your site yesterday and you install the pixel today, you won't be able to target me tomorrow because you installed the pixel after I visited your site. So installing the pixel is really easy. You start by navigating to your ads manager and choosing pixels from the drop-down menu. You just simply click on the Set Up the Pixel button to get started. Facebook will give you two options. One is to use the integration or tag manager. So if you're using an online shop like Spotify or Magneto for e-commerce, you're going to use that. But for everyone else, you're just going to use the copy and paste code option. So you simply copy the code from the Facebook dialog window. And I also like to email it to myself for safekeeping. Or if you're using a developer, you can email it to her. You're going to want to place the code in your head tag, usually before the end of the tag. And you typically do this by FTPing into your site. Now, if this all seems way above your head and your eyes are glazing over, you can hire somebody to do this for you. It's really quick and inexpensive for people who know what they're doing. So once you have your pixel installed, you'll want to set up your campaigns. I like using the Facebook Power Editor, so these screenshots will show that. Your screen might look slightly different, but all the concepts are going to be the same. So there are three levels of a Facebook ad campaign: the campaign, the ad sets, and then the ads themselves. So at the campaign level, you're going to name your campaign and set your objective. The campaign level is like a general bucket or a folder that will contain all of your ads and ad sets. My two favorite ads to run are website traffic ads. So I've installed my tracking pixel. When somebody visits my website, I can create a custom audience from web visitors and then advertise and remarket to them at a later date, and then effectively bringing them through my sales funnel. The other ad I like to run is a conversion ad, and this is where I'm trying to capture an email address or sell a product or service. With a conversion ad, I install a special conversion pixel on my thank you page. Whenever someone hits that page after signing up or buying something, Facebook records it. So the ad set level is the level where you set your audience targeting, bidding, and budget. You're going to create different ad sets for different targets. So for example, you might want to target one set of ads to just general demographics, another to demographics, and you target against your competitor's fan page, which is what you can do. And then maybe a third ad set is retargeted from your website. And maybe even a fourth ad set is targeted to people who have visited and downloaded some sort of freebie on your visited your freebie or landing page, but didn't actually sign up and convert. So finally, at the ads level, you actually create the ads with your text heading, calls to action, websites, links, and images. This is also where you're going to split test your different copy and visuals. So how do you go about split testing? Well, you can carry out your split testing experiments by creating really small variations of a single ad. So I find it easiest to start with one ad and then duplicate it and make one change, just one. And then you measure how this singular change impacts the performance of the ad and decide if you have a winner on your hands or not. So in this ad, this is an actual ad that I ran, and you can see that all of the calls to action, the copy, the website link, everything is the same except for the image. I was testing collages. I actually ran several variations of this, changing the image to a single image with text, and then a single image with no text. So I actually had 4 variations for one ad. I could also keep the picture the same and change part of the text or change the call to action. The point is each ad should only have one variation. So when you're split testing your ads, there's a couple of things that you need to remember. First, you want to make sure that you do not change more than one thing, or else you just don't know what's caused the change in conversion rate. Knowing what caused the change in conversions is important because such knowledge will provide you with the ability to create ads in the future that work right out of the gate, right? Second, when you find a winning ad, you need to make sure that you quickly ramp up the spend on that ad and phase out the spend on underperforming ads. So with ad platforms like Facebook, you're really working against the clock. Sooner or later, ad fatigue is going to set in, and it's going to cause banner blindness, and nobody's going to see you. And then third, when you split test your ads, be careful about how you group them. Ads within the same ad group have been known to influence each other. And this tends to happen because the ad platforms will keep an eye on the numbers and display of the highest performing ad over the other ones in the same ad set. So it might sound good, but it can mess things up if you're trying to split test and you have a whole bunch of things going on. So one ad that's failing in one group might actually succeed in another group just because it's being run against different ads in the different groups. So, you just want to start slowly, record things, test. I like to run my ads at first in 2-week sprints until I can start learning what works and what doesn't. Okay, so let's talk about budget and how much you should be spending. I typically start with $5 a day for the first 3 days, and then I'll toggle off underperforming ads and boost the ad spend to $10 per day or $20 or $25 or not. The trick is to increase your ad spend very gradually. A big mistake I see is when people create like a huge $200 a day budget before knowing what works, and this is basically a recipe to waste your money. So let's talk about how many ads and how many ad variations. I typically start with around 6 per ad set. There are typically 3 ads with 1 variation each, or 2 ads with 2 variation each. And I also love throwing in video as a wild card. One of the biggest mistakes I see small businesses making in terms of how many ads is they put 1 ad out there and hope it works. You really want to use ad variations to see what works for your audience, but ad variations also lets you help Facebook help you to optimize your ads and attract the right audience very quickly. So let's talk about optimization and intervals for tweaks. So when should you start making tweaks and toggling off underperforming ads and shifting budget to winning ones? Well, Facebook wants you to wait at least 3 days before touching your ads. And this is because Facebook needs time to optimize. It's in Facebook's best interest to have you win at advertising. So you'll advertise with them again. Therefore, it's going to test and optimize your ad delivery for you. And as long as your ad doesn't completely suck, in which case Facebook will charge you more for fewer deliveries or just not deliver your ad at all, barring that, Facebook will work to find the right audience to help you achieve your objectives. If an ad looks like it's performing badly within the first hour, it might end up being one of the better performing ads by the end of the day or end of 3 days because Facebook finds an audience for it. So just let it cook. And then what do you do if your campaigns fail? Well, occasionally nothing's going to work, but don't fret. Even failed campaigns can give you information for what's not working. And when something isn't working, I just start making some of the following changes one at a time. I will change the objectives. So you want to duplicate the campaign at the campaign level and change the objectives. I've had campaigns where I was trying to sell tickets to an event and nobody wanted to buy tickets off of Facebook. So I turned the campaign into driving website traffic to warm up the audience and bring them through the sales funnel more fully. And it was a little bit more successful. You can also change your audience. Again, you're going to duplicate the ad set at the ad set level and change your targeting. You might not be reaching the right people, so you can make some shifts in that area. And then you might have to start from scratch with new creative. Really take a good, honest look at your ad and ask yourself, is this relevant and compelling for my audience? And if the answer is no, consider just changing out your ads. So if you have a winning campaign, you can use those ads immediately in your next campaign to have some winning ads right out of the gate. You can also, once you have those winning ads and you know what you're doing, you can also start experimenting by throwing in a wild card, like change the creative, change the messaging, throw in a video, throw in a carousel. Always be testing. Try new functionality as it rolls out. So I cannot wait until Facebook brings stories to brands. I've been using it a lot on Instagram from the brand perspective. It's working really well. Once they roll that out, I'm going to be all over it. Hopefully they'll monetize it so I can throw some money at it. And then try new funnels and offers in your product mix and start advertising them and seeing what sticks. Instead of spending a whole bunch of time and money developing a new product or service, put some ads out there and see if anybody's going to respond to them before you spend all the time and money building service or product. All right, that is that is a lot of information in a very little time. We have a couple more minutes for questions. So Kelly, did anybody ask any questions?
Well, the biggest question, there was a number of questions on budget, and then you covered budget, but there was a lot of discussion on the average cost, on how much they should spend, how much does it cost for a single ad, etc. So a lot of it was on budget, on average cost, and what makes an effective campaign.
Yeah, so if you're just starting out with Facebook ads and you're new to Facebook ads, start small with your budget until you can start learning how your audience is going to respond, start testing creative. And so oftentimes what I'll do, like I said, is I will set up what's called sprints. So I'll run a campaign for 2 weeks. I'll set up my campaign. I'll know what my goals are. I'll run it for 2 weeks. And generally, if I'm spending, $5 a day, that ends up being, less than $80 for the 2 weeks. And that gives me some opportunity to learn. And then as a business, you can make some decisions about how you're going to ramp up spending for the next sprint and the next sprint. One thing I'll say about budget and ad spend in Facebook ads is if you are marketing an event, or the Labor Day sales coming down the pike, or that tax time's a big time for you, or anything like that, with Facebook ads and any kind of online digital marketing, you really want to dig your well before you're thirsty. So the hardest thing to do if you want to spend money on Facebook ads is have to sell tickets 2 weeks before your event and then scramble and throw $2,000 at Facebook real quick and hope it all pans out. If you know that you need to sell tickets for your event, start 6 weeks in advance and start building your audience and generating that interest list and capturing those emails and offering a lot of value in the beginning and building up that trust and authority in your brand, so that 2 weeks before, when it's go time and you have a direct retail message in your ads, that entire audience that you built trust with is going to respond to those ads. Otherwise, if you go out cold with a retail message to an audience, no matter how big it is, you're going to be spending a lot of money in fighting for those conversions.
Well, great. Well, that's about it for today. I think we're out of time. Time from the Green Fox Event Center here in Mountain Lakes, California. Thank you for listening. We'll be back with another webinar next month, maybe 2. And for Christy Osborne, I'm Kelly Bierman. Have a great afternoon and have a profitable afternoon too.
Thank you. It's good hanging out with you today.
Goodbye now.